President Cyril Ramaphosa launches the Border Management Authority at the Beitbridge border post, and City Power is disconnecting supply to defaulting customers in Johannesburg. These top stories and more coming up on the day that was. I'm Dibuseng Milwe. President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched the Border Management Authority as SA's third law enforcement agency. He hosted his Zimbabwean counterpart Emmerson Mnangagwa at the event. The division was established to ensure the country's border remains secure. ENCA's Moluko Moloto is following the story and brings us the latest.
The border town, the small town of Musina in the northernmost part of our country, is today a hive of activity. The President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, officially launching the Border Management Agency or Authority, I beg pardon, which essentially is responsible primarily to secure our borders, our ports of entry, as well as the borderlines. Of course, for many years, there has been complaints and concerns that our borders are porous. We have heard from the President when he was delivering his keynote address, saying that the deficiencies that had been there for a long time had actually allowed organized crime and corruption to thrive. And he is confident, therefore, that the consolidation of all those efforts and the work, as you heard the Minister of Home Affairs saying previously, there were about 58 acts of parliament that were governing the border and the whole process of securing borders. Now they have now been consolidated into a single act of parliament. But let's hear from the man who's now officially responsible for this BMA, the authority, the Border Management Authority. His name is Dr. Mike Masia-Poto. Thank you so much for making time, Commissioner, and congratulations there. Maybe in a nutshell, if you can just take our viewers through the whole process and the whole purpose for today's activity. What was important today?
Yeah, maybe the first thing to indicate is that indeed the Border Management Authority had officially started working as a Schedule 3A public entity from the 1st of April 2023. So since then we have actually started integrating all the various functions that are done at the port of entry. So mainly is immigration, agricultural, environmental, as well as health, including access control. So we've started doing that. However, today, because the Border Management Authority stands as a, I would say, the third law enforcement authority of the Republic, which is National Armed Law Enforcement Authority, the President of the Republic had to officially launch it as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So on that basis, what he had to do critically today was fairly two things. The first thing was to rank all the three, I would say, top commissioners that he had appointed into the authority to lead it. That is myself as the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, the two Deputy Commissioners, one operations, one corporate. And then additional to that, he had to then give the sword of authority from him as the Commander-in-Chief into the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority to start doing the work.
The city of Johannesburg is planning to relocate survivors of the deadly Marshalltown building fire to a more suitable site. But these plans are being opposed by communities near the new site. The survivors were moved to several shelters after the disaster. ENCA senior reporter Slindelo Masikani has been tracking the story for us.
In August, a fire erupted in a hijacked building in Marshalltown, leaving hundreds of people who were living inside it homeless. A court order compelling the city to find alternative accommodation for the victims resulted in this plot in the south of Joburg being identified for the move. But residents in the area are not having it. They barricaded Swartkopies Road in protest.
They claim it's a temporary structure, but we know how it is. The shacks here will start mushrooming like how it is down there at Jackson.
We weren't consulted at all, which I think is wrong. And of course the community is very, very angry. I mean, and they have every right to be angry. I mean, you know, this affects their land values. This is their community. This is where they live.
As a South African, we've been too lackadaisy with what's been happening in South Africa. Big decisions are being made, we are not consulted, but yet we are the taxpayers of South Africa.
Joburg's Transport MMC came to address them.
I was asked to come here so that I can be able to assure you that there is no squatter camp that was going to come here. There was going to be a temporary structure. Yeah. Now. Yes.
The Human Settlements Department agrees with residents and is seeking alternative arrangements.
If you look at the names that are on the court order, there's 139 names there. And it was only after the order was given that it emerged that this is probably not a very suitable area. There's a lot of reasons for that. And for that reason, we have to relook at where these people are going to go. The fact is they have to go somewhere, but it's very clear that this Patland site is not going to work.
So for now, the relocation has been halted, meaning the victims of the fire remain at the Brixton Recreational Centre. Slinda Lomasigane in the south of Joburg.
The children died soon after eating biscuits bought at a local Spaza shop. The community is accusing the Spaza shop owners of selling expired or tainted food. ENCA's Mangoba Mkunu has been tracking the story for us.
Another child has died from suspected poisoning in Soweto. 2 others earlier this week died after allegedly eating biscuits bought at a local Spaza shops. Investigations into the deaths are underway. ENCA reporter Mangoba Mkunu is on the ground in Protea North in Soweto this hour just to bring us the latest. Mangoba, tragic news indeed. A 3rd child has now been reported to have died after eating something purchased at a Spaza shop.
Well, that's correct, but in fact, we understand that this particular incident happened on Tuesday in the afternoon, and what we understand from the family is that this 14-year-old boy, Gwanda Mazazana, had just recently eaten an item that he had been given by one of the foreign shop owners here in Protea South, and they say that just shortly after that, that's when he started to feel sick, and they then rushed him to the local clinic, and this is where he was then declared dead by those healthcare workers. So it is another incident that seemingly has similar symptoms to what happened in the other area of Naledi, where we know that 2 children have died in that particular area. The shop there has been closed. And earlier on, just speaking to the MMC for Health in Johannesburg, she says that they've been able to trace some elements in one of the children. In fact, she says what they've managed to trace so far is a compound known as organophosphate, which is a compound that we understand is also part of a rat poison that is commonly used in many of the townships known as halipirimi. So that's the investigation findings so far, but we know that there are still investigations that are ongoing. There are swabs that have been taken from that particular shop. But shockingly, Pradan, just a short while ago, the health department in Gauteng releasing another statement saying that 2 more children have died. And this incident is also related to alleged poisoning. They also understand 8 items that they've been bought from foreign shop-owned shops in Bakersdal, we understand. And 2 more other children are also fighting for their lives in hospital.
And after the break, we bring you some of the most talked about anchor interviews featured on ENCA during the day that was. Welcome back to the day that was. My name is Dibuseng Milwe. Now, the poultry sector is in a flutter and is on a verge of cracking due to the bird flu outbreak. ENCA anchor Tami Ngumeni spoke to Robert Brach from the Free State University's Biochemistry Department.
When we look at the impact of the bird flu, coupled with the power losses that we've experienced over the past few years, how has this really affected the egg industry and the poultry industry in general?
Well, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, the poultry industry is certainly going through very, very difficult times. The load shedding, the constant power problems are major problems for the poultry industry because many of the poultry houses are actually environmentally controlled houses and power is essential. And then now to top it all, we have this major outbreak of avian influenza, which is a serious disease. It's really devastates poultry industries around the world. So we're not unique in the problems we have with avian influenza. In fact, in the past, South Africa was just about the only country that was relatively free of avian influenza. But the last couple of years, that's changed, and now we're sitting with a major crisis. And this could be the death knell for the local poultry industry, particularly the small to medium sized poultry producers. Will they be able to survive the load shedding additional costs and now the devastating effects of avian influenza?
So let's talk about avian influenza, the avian flu. What exactly is it? And you mentioned now that over the past while, South Africa has actually been immune to it, but things have certainly changed as we are seeing.
Yes, the disease started off, it's primarily a virus. It's obviously a virus, and it's an influenza virus. It's a virus that was originally transmitted in the northern hemisphere, particularly the USA. It was a virus that was carried by migratory water birds. And when they would fly down on their migratory routes, they would land close to poultry houses, and the disease would spread then into the poultry houses. And it's slowly, systematically spread around the world. South Africa, we're not on the bird migration route from North America. So to a large extent, we were spared from avian influenza for a long time. Europe, North America has had major problems with it for an extended period of time.
A Spaza Shop Association has condemned the selling of counterfeit goods to communities. Now Gauteng police are investigating the deaths. ENCA anchor Baron Hufke spoke to Bongani Mabuza from the Cathoris Development Company during Newslink.
I mean, that has become a huge problem in this country. It's probably been a problem for the last couple of years already. How do we then combat this, and how do we make sure that our communities are safe from goods like these?
Look, I mean, you can understand that there's an economic crisis in our country. People are looking for cheaper options. People are looking for, affordable goods. So they do tend to, buy counterfeit goods. I mean, you would have seen, during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, how the illicit cigarette market grew, and it still exists. People are smoking cigarettes that they don't know where they come from, and equally with food, we don't know where our food comes from. So how we combat this is by empowering, the locals, local associations, local formations, local groupings to be the ones that are the watchdogs, because the government doesn't have the capacity to manage this. They don't have the capacity to manage this, otherwise they would have. I mean, they cannot go Spaza to Spaza checking. And if they do go Spaza to Spaza, we know that, the officials are not paid enough to not be corrupt in those situations. So our lives are at risk until we control the supply chain of what comes into the townships. We need to empower the township entrepreneurs to be the ones that run distribution, to be the ones that run the supply chain. There can't be goods that come into my township and I don't know who is bringing them in. We see trucks coming in and out of our townships, but we don't know where they come from. So when children die, we don't know who to ask. We blame the Spaza owners, but these things are coming from somewhere. Where do they come from? That is what we must control. And that is how we can combat this thing, by controlling our supply chain, controlling our distribution.
In an effort to recoup desperately needed funds, City Power has embarked on yet another cut-off operation. This time, the utility has cut supply to businesses in Doornfontein in downtown Johannesburg. Businesses in that area collectively owe City Power over 30 million rand. ENCA's Bafedile Moerane has the story.
City Power once again ridding the Johannesburg CBD of illegal electricity connections. Here alone, the entity is owed over 33 million. However, the entity's billing system has been called into question.
City Council is killing us as residents, as citizens, because the 18% electricity, we now work, okay, for City Council, not even for SARS. City Council is exorbitant with their prices. In my own personal capacity, okay, the first expense I pay in my home is City Council electricity and water, okay? I basically work for City Council to pay my electricity and water.
But City Power is defending its billing system.
Our billing system is working. I think when customers are away or are not using the electricity, obviously the consumption should not be happening. And if they receive a bill and that reading is not in line with what it's on the meter, there are processes available for customers to take a picture of the readings in their meters and submit them to the city for them to be billed correct.
Illegal bridging of connections is said to be on the rise from businesses. But this drive is so far bringing in positive results.
We are happy with the results that it's yielding. Today alone, we disconnected in excess of 10 properties, 4 on the list successfully. And on our way, as we were auditing the other properties, we found 6 additional properties that were breached in their prepaid. And we disconnected them. And most of these customers, even during the operation, they were asking, where should we go in order for us to fix our accounts?
City Power says it's losing 27 million rand annually due to non-payment of purported prepaid electricity. Bafedile Mwerani, Johannesburg.
Do stay tuned to The Day That Was. More top stories and interviews right after the break. Welcome back to The Day That Was. My name is Dibuseng Milwe. To the Western Cape, where cable theft has left several Cape Town communities without electricity for months. Community members say criminality thrives in the dark and have been pleading with Eskom to reconnect them and exempt them from power cuts. 6 communities have taken their grievances to the power utilities offices. Nobesutu Hejana was there.
What was meant to be a peaceful march to deliver grievances of residents from various areas in Cape Town took a turn as residents squared off with police who had their hands full trying to restore calm to the area. Frustrated residents are accusing Eskom of failing to listen to their concerns, which they say date back to November last year.
So we've been fighting with Eskom, struggling with Eskom, talking to Eskom since November last year. It's almost a year now. And they come only when we speak to them. They come and fix for a week and so on. Then they run away again and we don't see them. The big problem here is that the people are poor and they don't get the proper service that they're supposed to get. It takes the dignity away from them.
Other residents say they know the criminals that steal the cables but are scared to report them. After 2 police nyalas were called for backup, roads were eventually opened in West Bank. Ward councillors from affected communities delivered their demands, which included the names of 50 families whose cases are yet to be resolved by Eskom's customer service.
If the minister can stop the load shedding in Delft. The other issue that we are facing with the day hospital, sometimes including the SEPs, sometimes when there's a load shedding, the infrastructure is too much for them. The cables, they get stolen and the hospital stays without electricity for a very long time.
The power utilities provincial officials say they've been struggling to meet the demands due to vandalism and cable theft. And while they've committed to help the communities, they don't have the mandate to exempt areas like Delft from rolling blackouts.
They have given us a list of grievances, a list of issues within their environments and in their neighbourhoods, which they'd like us to address as soon as possible. We've committed to look at the issues which they've given to us and respond to them in this regard. We've also committed in the past, because we have met with them before, to address our service delivery issues in these communities, which we are currently doing and working on improving. Their main, or one of their main issues that they have raised is they indicate that load shedding attracts crime into their communities, and all communities actually, because in that darkness, the criminals become quite active.
Eskom says its customer services departments rely on the assistance from the police and neighborhood watchers to protect infrastructure. Nobesutu Ejana, Cape Town.
4 ANC MPs implicated in State Capture Commission inquiry have been let off the hook. Parliament's Ethics Committee has cleared House Chair Cedric Frolick, Labour Minister Thulas Nxesi, former Minister Mosebenzi Zwane and MP Winnie Ngwenya of any wrongdoing. The committee found the 4 did not breach the Code of Ethical Conduct. ENCA anchor Tami Ngubeni had this conversation with co-chair of the Ethics Committee, Bekizwe Nkosi.
I must indicate that the Ethics Committee does not look at members as affiliates or members of particular political parties. When we deal with issues, we deal with members as members of parliament who have taken an oath to uphold law, ethics, and any other legislation applicable. Secondly, at all times we act in a manner that does ensure the integrity, trust, and confidence of people in parliament. We have never done anything that suggests otherwise. Thirdly, in relation to us investigating matters, we go through a thorough process where we give the complainant the opportunity to place their complaint, investigate, liaise with other institutions that may help shed light, and require those people to provide us with additional information and give them out before the committee. Thereafter, we consider all issues, all information before us, before we arrive at the decision. So it is not a flimsy approach. It is an approach that is engaged, involved, requires a lot of resources in terms of personnel, but also in terms of just as members applying our minds independently and without bias on the issues.
Let's start with one of the issues, that of Mr. Thulas Nxesi. This was obviously in relation to the asbestos issue, Edwin Sodi having used his name as a reference for one of the deposits. What the information we have is that Mr. Nxesi got an affidavit where he proclaimed that the money was not for himself, but instead it went to a family that was in need. Over and above the affidavit that was submitted to you as a portfolio committee, what other steps did you take in order to verify that information and to ascertain the merits of this particular case?
Yeah, it's confirmed. We did receive the affidavit from Honorable Nxesi, but secondly, we required him, in addition, to prove to us that indeed the money didn't come to his account. He provided receipts or invoices of the amounts paid directly to, I think, Sanwat Primary or High School, which indicated that the money moved from Sodi to Sanwat High School. And secondly, the other amount moved from Sodi to a Mrs., I think, I can't remember the name exactly, but these were to pay for fees and or accommodation for people in his constituency which were destitute.
The KwaZulu-Natal ANC Youth League are calling for the removal of Umgeni Municipality Mayor Chris Pappas. The party is accusing Pappas, who is also the DA Premier candidate, of corruption and nepotism after the municipality allegedly awarded a tender to his former fiancée. ENCA's Letiwe Mdluli has more.
We saw you handing over the memorandum to the Speaker and also Cox as well. You read some of your demands. Take us through what you're demanding right now.
Oh, okay, right now, thank you very much. I think we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. We have handed over our memorandum to the Speaker of the municipality and Coxa. After this, we are going to the police station where we are going to be opening a case against Pappas. Now, we are going to the police station and we have given them 7 days to respond. Yes, fortunately, the COGTA has said that within 7 days they will respond to us. We're also demanding that the municipality must respond to us within 7 days, because we need to say this. They have been trying to stop us in doing this. That is why I'm saying that we are happy that today we achieved what we wanted to do, because we have done our demonstration and they received our memorandum, and we're expecting them to give us a response within 7 days.
Have you spoken to the office of the mayor or him directly about the accusations that you're laying against him?
We don't have to speak to him. We want the municipality. We want all what we are demanding. We want response from those demands. We don't have to speak to the mayor directly. Yes.
In terms of the memorandum, there were a lot of demands. You're also saying that black employees within the municipality are being discriminated against. Do you have any proof of this?
Yes, it has been alleged that a 63-year-old woman has been employed. Now, in the acts of the municipality, you can't employ a 63-year-old woman whilst there are people within the municipality. We do have young people within the municipality, black people, that could have been and gone to that position. But now they took a white woman who's 63 years old to occupy that position. Hence, we're saying that we want an investigation, an intense investigation in this municipality.
And that wraps this edition of The Day That Was. From myself and the rest of the team, have a great one.